In a few hours, the federal trial for three former Minneapolis police officers is scheduled to begin. They're charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights when they did not stop Derek Chauvin from murdering him. Justice correspondent Candace Kelley is with us now with more. Candace, thank you for joining us because a lot of eyes will be on this case as well. And attorneys for both sides are actually planning on laying out their case with their opening statement. So what can we expect in this case here?
Well, we're going to hear several stories because, of course, we have three defendants who were positioned differently at the crime of the scene when George Floyd died. We're going to hear defense. First of all, we're going to hear them talk about how Tao, for example, did not touch the body. And their defense for him is going to be that he didn't touch the body. He was too busy fighting off the crowd. If you remember, there was a crowd there. We're going to hear from the defense attorney of Thomas Lane. Thomas Lane twice said, should we not turn this body over? But Derek Chauvin did not listen to him, and the body was not turned over. And then we're going to hear from Alexander King. He was the one who was holding down the back of George Floyd. And with that in mind, these two, Thomas Lane and Alexander King, they were new. And they're going to talk about training, and they're going to talk about what an officer should do in this situation. The defense is going to say, look, what were they supposed to do? They were subordinates to Derek Chauvin. They were new. They were rookies. These are not the ones that should be the blame. And they're going to point all fingers at Derek Chauvin. Now, the prosecutors are going to have a very difficult time, Shannon, in all of this, because they're going to have to prove that there was willful intent on the part of these officers to absolutely do nothing when it came to the medical needs of George Floyd. It's really an uphill battle, one where they're going to have to get into the minds of the three officers and trying to decipher if they willfully saw and willfully disregarded what was going on with George Floyd, knowing that he was taking his last dying breath, Shannon.
And as you mentioned, this is going to be a blame game situation here. So how key is it that they can pin it on Derek Chauvin, especially since he's already been convicted? Does that help them in their case here?
It absolutely helps them in their case to say, listen, Derek Chauvin was the one who was the senior officer on the scene. And what were these subordinates supposed to do? Get up? Was Tao supposed to arrest Derek Chauvin at that time for doing what he did? Derek Chauvin was the one who was in charge, and that is the painting that we are going to see. In opening arguments, I'm sure that we will also hear about the training that these men go through. Of course, that training, by the way, has changed. But at the time, what is it that they were supposed to do? And did they rise to the level of expectation of someone who was on the force, especially someone who was actually going through a training day? So that's going to be very central, Shannon, as this case unfolds in a couple of hours.
Wow, couldn't imagine that being your training day. Well, do you think Chauvin will be required to testify in this case?
Well, normally as part of one's plea deal, and as we know, Derek Chauvin took a plea deal on the federal level case. When there is a plea deal, it normally stipulates that perhaps a Derek Chauvin in this situation might go on the stand because he has to provide some type of circumstantial evidence or information. But in this case, this really did not point out as a part of the plea deal that he had to take the stand. Now, if the prosecution does so poorly that they have no other means to try to save their case and resuscitate their case, they may ask for Derek Chauvin to take the stand, but I doubt that that will happen. And then on the defense side, the only way that he would possibly take the stand is if Derek Chauvin can wholly say, I was responsible, release the other three, I was the one who was to blame. That would be the only reason that you would want a defense attorney to bring a Derek Chauvin to the stand. So I don't see that happening, but we never know. As we know, these cases always take very interesting turns as they unfold. So we will see when this kicks off today, Shannon.
And because of the judge, do you think there will be fewer witnesses?
The judge has made it very clear that he wants this case to happen and unfold very quickly because of COVID concerns. He's looked at the witness list. He's gone through, he's checked it once, he's checked it twice to say, listen, do we need this witness or not? A couple of witnesses that we saw during the state trial of Derek Chauvin, we will not hear from them on this stand. He has also just made the assessment that, listen, attorneys, I know that you do a good job of what you do. Make sure that you continue to do a good job because we want this trial to be as concise as possible. He's expecting to finish this trial in 2 weeks. And if you recall, the Derek Chauvin trial actually wrapped up after about 5 or 6 weeks. So definitely he's going to cut the time, which is really interesting because we have three defendants as opposed to one. time in the state trial of Derek Chauvin.
Well, the judge is the only one. I know a lot of people watching want this to be wrapped up quick, and we know you'll bring us the very latest every single day as it continues. Candace Kelley, as always, thank you so much for starting your day with us.